Welcome. Just drew a little oracle card. Don't know if that's going into focus for you, but it says flourish. Conditions are perfect for growth and expansion in business or situations you're passionate about. Very annoyingly, it says Y-O-U-R, not your. Anyway, yeah, you might wonder why would you want to go over Ron Logan's affidavit again, right? Plenty of people are doing it. And hi, Crime Curious. Hi, Jen. Happy New Year to you too. I'll just warn you, I've got an extremely painful situation going on here with my shoulder blade. It's shooting pains right up into my head, down my body. It's been awful, but it's going to take a few days to get better. So I thought I'll just go ahead with this live anyway. And I know a lot of people are going to be, they're talking about Ron Logan, they're going over the search warrant, everyone's doing it because, you know, the allegations are still circling like vultures around dead Ron Logan. Started off that, some people were convinced that he is the bridge guy. So that morphed conveniently for them. They didn't just drop it, they just morphed it into, thanks Jen, they just morphed it into, okay, well, he knows he's involved, he was there at the crime scene. They make up all sorts of vulgar things about him at the crime scene, and you just go, okay, sure, but why? They're speaking like they have fact to do with his telephone records, fact about where he was and when, and it's simply not true. A lot of it, right? But the problem is, hi, happy New Year, Dee. Nice to see you. We all know, you know, when we've been following cases for years, okay, we've also been these newbies coming in halfway through cases too, right? And you're easily led. You see a little bit of information that might have been debunked over years by lots and lots of different people, but you see it and you go, oh my gosh, what about this and what about that? And newbies always come in and they always query Ron Logan, and when you've got factions that are gunning for him, this, you know, writing books and things about him as if he's the murderer, and as if there is some, you know, as if there is this travesty of justice going on in some fashion to do with who's being arrested and what the charges are. I mean, they're quite relentless about it, but they're proving nothing. Oi, hi, Joman. We're going to see how we go here, Joman. You might have to help me out a bit. I'm suffering. But I wanted to read it, and as we go, just rediscuss these points. Okay, well, if this is in the search warrant, this is how it's written, this is what people are accusing. Now, what proof do they have? How are they proving this? There's so many, they are asking you to make all your, to just leave your logic at the door and to get caught up in their passionate belief. And what happens with these factions is they support each other with the spreading of rumor and false information because it serves themselves, okay? So when you've got, no worries, Yeoman, when they are saying things like, you know, the satellite phone of Ron Logan. I mean, did you see my community post? I just put up a picture of Ron Logan after the murders, before the search warrant on his home, a photo of him using his little phone, it's just a little phone maybe that he'd see text on. He could SMS and he could, it wasn't a smartphone. Now, okay, he's sending and receiving texts on this phone, but what I want people to give answers to, because this is the accusation, they're saying, oh no, he's quite sharp and shifty and he's using a satellite phone, and there's no proofs of anything, right? And they're just not making a case. What they're doing is making a case that they're always the type of people to decide on an angle and stick with it because it's self-serving. So, Richard Allen. So we've got Richard Allen's arrest affidavit, which maybe we can use to refer to. Sorry, this isn't very well presented, isn't it? But it's exactly as I said it was going to be. We're going to read through and discuss this search warrant in relation to what people are accusing Ron Logan of. So I couldn't find where I filed my copy, so I've got the murder sheets one here. And if no one has these and they want them, you can get them from various sources. Murder sheet is one source, clearly. Okay, so state of Indiana, county of Carroll. Carroll Circuit Court. The cause number is 08C01-1703-MC, in case you want to look it up. And who brought this search warrant into being? Well, it was the FBI. It wasn't Carroll County. It wasn't Toble's office, okay? It was the FBI. Nicole Robinson used to be a policeman. She was working for the police, and then she did that a number of years, and she's also worked a number of years in the FBI organization, and she actually specializes. Oh, Dee's got a power outage. I hope you're okay, Dee. I hope it's nothing serious. And she actually specializes in very violent crime. So this is written by her. Nicole Robinson swears or affirms that she believes, and has good cause to believe, evidence of a homicide is located in the residence of Ronald Logan, located at Delphi, Indiana, situated in the county of Carroll in said state, which is described as a white two-story single-family dwelling situated in the county of Carroll in said state, including the detached garage, outbuildings, or a white Ford F-250, gives his VIN number, states as follows. I, Nicole Robinson, am a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and have been employed as such for 12 years. The first person, second person, etc. changes through this. It's really, again, we've just got another very poorly written document, just like we have, I mean, it's not as poorly written, say, as, Richard Allen's arrest warrant, but when the tenses and when all these things are changing, it's not me misreading it, I'm just reading it exactly as it's written. It's one of my bugbears, is just poor writing. I can't stand it. But anywho, and have been employed as such for 12 years. Prior to her employment as an FBI agent, Nicole Robertson was employed as a Sauk Village, Illinois police officer for approximately 6 years. Nicole Robertson is assigned to the Merrillville Resident Agency and currently participates in the investigation of all violent crimes. Okay, so I could have just read that out instead of informing you of that before I read it. Background. Number 1. On February 13th, 2017 at approximately 1 p.m. So what do we know about this time? The FBI, it was good enough for them, 1 p.m. Then it became 1:37 or 1:38 thereabouts, being the time that the phone that Libby had on her at the time made an outbound call to Derek German's phone, and the time that Kelsey German's phone received a call from her boyfriend of the time, Chase Wilbur. And then we learned in Richard Allen's affidavit that it became 1:49 p.m. that the girls were really dropped off, more or less, by the outgoing direction of Kelsey German moving past Hoosier Harvest Store. And when would they have had that information though? The Harvest Store film. I guess it wasn't up to police to keep correcting Libby German's family when they're talking about 1:38. They were never really sure of the time. The only thing that they were sure of regarding these times was Becky Patty always stating Derek German had left 15 minutes before the girls decided to go and left. It was the only thing that she was ever sure of. So we will talk about this time and the witness arriving time that's in Richard Allen's affidavit at the end, because of videos that are being made about that are playing loose with these times to serve their own purpose. There's several ways you can look at the arrival time of a witness and the departure time of Kelsey German's car, and that's that. So let's move on. We haven't got past the first line. February 13th, 2017, approximately 1 p.m. Juvenile victims, hereafter referred to as LG&AW, were taken to the Monon High Bridge Trail, located in Delphi, Indiana. LG&AW were walking the trail in the area of Country Road 310 and 575W. Now, we're going to stop all the way through. This is the purpose. Why do they write this? People make such a scene about this as well. All they are doing is putting the cross street, 300N and 575W is pretty much Ron Logan's properties on the corner pretty much of these intersecting roads, and that is the nearest cross street, and therefore that is how they write into these affidavits. If you've read plenty of them, it is often shown a cross street. They give that as a reference. I don't think there's anything weird to do with that. The girls being dropped off there. And then there's that famous longitude and latitude. I don't have a computer up that I can show you things, so let's not talk about that. So, taken to the trail. They were walking the trail at approximately 2:13 p.m., which was the time of the last contact with LG&AW by cellular device, because that's the time that the video was recorded. People that think somehow that FBI agents can't tell that a file was planted, downloaded onto a phone. I mean, it's moronic. Okay, people are saying that Kelsey German specifically, and maybe Bree and Chase Wilbur and whomever else, Nick McClelland, Shane Evans, that they're all involved according to certain factions. And this video of Bridge Guy walking across the bridge, it was filmed, it was made up, so was the Snapchat picture, and planted on the phone, okay? That doesn't happen like that. You think the data can't be, that it's not obvious that it wasn't filmed on that device at the time? Sorry, this is going to be painful for you, isn't it? 2:13 p.m., which was the time of last contact by cellular device. The victims were to be picked up by a family member at 3 p.m, and the victims never met with the family member. Approximately 5:30 p.m. was the last successful ping of the cellular phone by AT&T. Different phone companies keep records for a varying amount of times. Some of them for only a year, some of them up to 7 years. AT&T will have their own policy on that. The victims, LG and AW, were located deceased on February 14th, 2017 at approximately 12:17 p.m. at the above listed latitude and longitude, having been the victims of murder in accordance with Indiana Code 354211. Now, that code sorry, 354211 in brackets 2. That is what Richard Allen is charged with. Consistent. Give this latitude 40, 35, 21, 4, longitude 86, 38, 23, 3, and that's where they were found, okay? That's the known information. Sorry, I'm not being very clear. I'm a bit cloudy by pain. I'll just try to move through. Sorry, you guys. Number 2. A suspect has been developed of a white male wearing a blue jacket with a heavy physical build, wearing a cap and blue jeans. Okay, so in March 2017, they've had Richard Allen come forward, but did they act on that? So we don't know if this suspect was developed from his description of himself. It doesn't make sense that it was, right? But it might make sense that the witness that we find out about in his affidavit, Richard Allen's affidavit, gave that description. But then again, it's from the video. So the development of the suspect was made by a 43-second video taken on LG's phone, where the suspect follows the victims as they were walking on the Monon High Bridge Trail. So if they conveniently discard Richard Allen, maybe, and then forget all about him, I don't know. Would that be possible? They've conveniently discard Richard Allen because it's more convenient to match Ron Logan at the time to the recording on the phone. I mean, Ron Logan looks nothing like the person in that video. His body is wrong. Everything is wrong, okay? Just this passing resemblance, costume-wise. So in the video where the suspect follows the victims as they're walking on the Monon High Bridge Trail, near the end of the video, the suspect speaks to the victims saying, "Down the hill." I often feel like he's going, "Down there, down there." I don't know, it just sounds like, I don't know, but let's just say it's down the hill. It sounds as though he's directing the victims to leave the trails they were on and into the wooded area below. No person has come forward and identified himself as the person who met the victims and made the statement in LG's video. Therefore, it is believed the person in LG's video participated in the killings. Images of the suspect have been broadcast out. You know, isn't it funny in hindsight with all that with the very little bits that we actually know for fact? So frustrating, isn't it? No person has come forward and identified themselves, therefore it's believed that the person in LG's video participated in the killings. Images of the suspect have been broadcast on the news media since February the 15th, 2017 as a person of interest. Item 3. LG and AW are presumed to have made contact with the unknown male at approximately 2:13 p.m. based upon analysis of LG's cell phone, which recorded the video. Okay, do you think the FBI know whether a phone recorded a video? You know, since we're told that it was such a highly edited video and a made-up video, it's using, I mean, we're supposed to believe that 43 seconds is made up using this Amish guy and all this Photoshop, and I mean, it's just completely bonkers. But, you know, when agents of chaos are working strongly to manipulate, yeah, they can do a good job of it, can't they? They work really hard at manipulating people's beliefs. Desperately hard. Item 4. On February the 14th, 2017, at approximately 12:17 p.m, victims LG and AW were found dead with wounds caused by a blank weapon on the property owned by Ronald Logan. A large amount of blood was lost by the victims at the crime scene. Because of the nature of the victims' wounds, it is nearly certain the perpetrator of the crime would have gotten blood on his person or clothing. The location of the crime scene is approximately 1,400 feet from Logan's residence. Lots of blood lost at the crime scene, and it doesn't matter whether moved, dragged, staged, posed, whatever. The blood is at the crime scene. So people that are writing books and trying to cause all sorts of chaos and all sorts of confusion, they one thing that they say is that these girls were taken to Ronald Logan's house and killed there. Item 5. Logan is a 77-year-old male. Logan's physical build is consistent with that of the male suspect videoed by LG on the Monon High Bridge Trail. Logan owns farmland and cares for large farm animals. Logan appears to be in good physical condition. Logan has been interviewed several times. His voice is not inconsistent with that of the person in the video. You know, not inconsistent and consistent with. Come on, you know, these are just vague terms, right? Better analysis, if you actually analyze the figures, you know that they're completely different people. Item 6, it was also discovered that the blanket of one of the victims was missing from the crime scene, while the rest of their clothing was recovered. It also appeared the girls' bodies were moved and staged. Okay, moved and staged. Not moved or staged. Moved and staged. They could have been dragged up from the river for all we know. We don't know. And mods, you know that you can just click on people too and just go and check out their channel. And yeah, not inconsistent with what? Yeah, human male voice. Not inconsistent with a person that wears blue jeans. Not inconsistent with male arms, legs, right? Item 6, moved and staged. Based upon my training and experience, it is common for perpetrators of this type of crime to take a souvenir or, in some fashion, memorialize the crime scene, whether by photos or electronic or digital methods that are then downloaded onto computers, storage devices, tablets, phones, iPad devices, or other electronic devices that store digital data for later viewing, scanning, or copying. Yeah, a lot of CP people, you know what, and people in rings sharing information, they're in their 20s, they're in their 30s, and they're using drop boxes, and they are using electronics, and they're using children that are in their periphery, young nephews and nieces, their own children and things like that. Not random strangers, and they're not, or generally not men in their 70s that don't use smartphones and might not even keep, I don't know, I mean, maybe Logan did keep records for his farm online on a PC, who knows, but Nicole Robinson is, she's at the time, she's a woman of that modern era, and when she's investigating crime, yeah, of course, she's someone who is working in an era when these crimes are more often including electronics, or they're including people that predate on children who are using YouTube and Snapchat, etc. 7. LG and AW had no visible signs of a struggle or fight. And that's, that's really interesting, isn't it? Eight. So, someone doesn't necessarily have defensive wounds, right? During the processing of the crime scene, investigators located unknown fibers and unidentified hairs, which may later be used for comparison of similar fibers or hairs. Logan owns numerous weapons, including handguns and knives, that were observed by LEOs during the execution of a search warrant that took place at his home on March 6, 2017. Logan's home was searched as a result of a probation violation. The search was limited to the discovery of firearms and included only his main residence. So, you can wonder about that bullet being planted, right? The smoking bullet, so to speak. Well, initially they did want to get in there and look at firearms. They've known about this bullet. I think they should have been much more open. Maybe they didn't want to run the risk of someone getting rid of the weapon. But this is, we have to wait and see. This is a really hard thing. We really have to wait and see before we can criticize a lot of things. We don't know how hard authorities went at finding all of the owners of registered .40 caliber handguns. We don't know about their, tactics and researching who might have such a gun, right? But if people are going to say Richard Allen's framed and that bullet just appeared later, well, it does seem that they were looking for a particular gun pretty much straight away. Item 10. On February the 14th, 2017, at approximately 9:20 a.m., Logan contacted his cousin, and Logan asked the cousin to tell the police that the cousin came to Logan's home between 2 and 2:30 on February the 13th, 2017 to pick Logan up. Logan further told the cousin to say that the cousin drove Logan to an aquarium store in Lafayette, Indiana. Logan told the cousin to say they returned home to Logan's house between 5 and 5:30 p.m. Now, yeah, I mean, we know that Pat Brown was there at 6 p.m. to ask for permission to search on his property, and it is more like 6 p.m. that Ron Logan would have come home, because they found a docket from the fish store in Lafayette that was labelled 527. Now, there is a creator that makes some very good videos, and they've made a few about Ron Logan, and they say, oh, it's not out of the bounds of, what's possible, that Ron only left home at 5 p.m. To get to Lafayette. Well, no, that's not true, because he was actually buying tropical fish. You don't go in to an aquarium and take fish off the shelf like you're taking a packet of potato chips or a bottle of milk out of a fridge. You go up and you're looking at the fish tanks and you're seeing what tropical fish are available, and you get the attention of a retail assistant, and they will come and they will catch these bloody fish. Some of them are difficult to catch, some of them aren't, and they need to be bagged up, and then you need to go to the register and you need to put your sale through. So, I think it's possible Ron left at 4. We don't know what else he did see. He's not going to say that he grabbed some alcohol somewhere. People like to muddle up that he was out drinking, having pizza and beer that afternoon, but that was a two-week later incident. Sorry, this is really boring, but anyway, I just wanted to do it. And, first he says it might appear that he's covering himself for the time 2:30. I mean, Ron Logan had no idea when he's saying this what the outcome was going to be. He's just thinking when he's going to be asked where was he, and he wasn't supposed to be driving to Lafayette, and that's the bottom line, okay? He didn't talk about the dump, because it never crossed the 77-year-old man's mind that there are cameras at the dump. Now, I want to know, how serious were they? Did they go and search the dump? If they were really serious that Ron Logan had something to do with the girls' murders. And, and then he says 3 o'clock, and he's still just dumping himself in it. He never gives the right time frame, okay? Because he didn't know at the time what he was trying to cover. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Especially because we realize now, I think we can probably be reasonably certain that the person that murdered these girls, they were at this scene for a very long time. This is something that is extremely frightening and must be so... this must be such a source of pain for the families. For Derek, who was at the trails at the time that this perpetrator was probably still with his daughter and with Abby. And it's possible that this person was with the girls for, say an hour and a quarter. And dead weight bodies are heavy, and especially when, even if you're a man who naturally has a lot more strength than a woman, even if you're 5'4", 5'5", as a man, you've got a lot more strength, especially if you're used to hiking, outdoor activities, and even so, though, to move people after they're dead, this is a huge effort, and especially through certain landscapes, right? So, but again, I hate to keep saying it, but we don't know enough information to make judgments on this, and we just have to wait and see. And the thing is, it creates this kind of vacuum, so people are filling in the gaps, and to them it might sound, even if they're not being agents of chaos and being evil about it, they might genuinely think that this sounds like it makes sense, that it's an intelligence and not, theory. But they just don't know. We don't know how wrong we can be. And, so if he was the perpetrator hiding the fact, he would have extended this time even further, is what I'm saying. On February the 14th, 2017, while requesting consent to search Logan's property, a law enforcement officer advised Logan that Elios would not search his home unless evidence led Elios to Logan's house. In that meeting, Logan told the LEO that he did not think evidence would lead them to that, but said, "I don't know." Now I'd want to hear a recording of that conversation, nearly, I mean, LEOs are trained in how to word things so that on paper tone can be misconstrued and to do things in lots of different manners, right? I don't know what to think of that. 12. A receipt from Aquarium World in Lafayette dated February the 13th, 2017, with a checkout time of 5:21 p.m. was found in Logan's home on March 6, 2017. During a probation violation search, Logan resides approximately 22 miles from the store. It will take approximately 30 minutes to get to the store from Logan's home. 13. On March 6, 2017, during an interview with an LEO, Logan said he was picked up by cousin around 3 p.m. So it's changed, right? He has no idea, eh? And now why would he make himself seem even more guilty by changing the time, giving him even more opportunity to commit the crime, right? It's because he had no idea, okay? Picked up around 3 p.m. and taken straight to the aquarium store in Lafayette. In the March 6, 2017 interview, Logan said after he was done at the aquarium store, he was driven straight home. These statements were found to be factually false and intentionally designed to deceive LEOs. Item 14. On March 7, 2017, Cousin was interviewed by an LEO. Cousin told the LEO that he was with Logan on Monday, February the 13th, 2017, and that he drove Logan to the aquarium store in Lafayette. On March 9, 2017, he was interviewed by another LEO regarding the trip to the aquarium, and then he told the LEO that he had lied when he was interviewed by the LEO on March 7th at Logan's request. The cousin explained that Logan had never asked the cousin to lie for him in the past. The cousin knows that Logan had driven his vehicle while on probation, while he was prohibited from doing so. The cousin also said that Logan did not ask him to lie for Logan when Logan drove to the transfer station earlier that day. 15. On March the 12th, 2017, the cousin explained in an interview to the LEO that Logan called him on the morning of February the 14th, 2017, and asked him to provide the alibi for Logan's drive to the aquarium in Lafayette. This phone call was made prior to LEO's discovery of Liberty German and Abigail Williams' deceased bodies. Based on investigators' experience, it is reasonable to believe that the creation of an alibi prior to the discovery of a crime indicates culpability or knowledge of the crime. Number 16. The cousin said he thought the photograph of the male that was released by the media of the man on the bridge looked like Logan. Now, how did that really go down? Did he concede that, yeah, maybe it looks like Logan, but I don't really believe it is? I mean, do the cops have to put a full description here of what the cousin said? I mean, I don't know. 17. Law enforcement officers learned that Logan had driven on February the 13th, 2017 to the transfer station in Delphi, Indiana to drop off the trash. Video from the transfer station shows Logan driving his white Ford pickup truck between 11:27 and 11:32. The video from the transfer station appears to be off by 26 minutes, putting Logan at the transfer station from approximately 11:53 a.m. and 11:58 a.m. I mean, why would a murderer want to go to the dump before he commits a murder? Did he want to go and try and find some old clothes to put on as a uniform? He just lucked in and he found these blue jeans and this jacket that he could wear, a very short time later. Wouldn't it be more compelling that it's Ronald Logan if he went to the transfer station afterwards and then just had an alibi for going into Lafayette, which he actually did do, but then he didn't tell about the transfer station visit, which he did afterwards. Yeah, what does it have to do with them? Well, because the girls were on his property, because they're searching for leads, because they've got to follow every lead, right? The person whose land it's on, it's a male, he's a lone figure, he's a bit mysterious, and seemingly because someone didn't follow up, if it's the truth about Richard Allen coming forward soon after the murders, they wanted to go and look at Ron Logan's, and the thing is, they did go and look at Ron Logan's, and they've searched thoroughly his truck, his outbuildings, his home, looking for electronic data, looking for clothing, looking for blood, looking for animal hairs to match what was found at the scene, looking for fibers to match what was found at the scene. It was the FBI that did it too, right? And nothing happened after it to do with Ron Logan, except in social media, where he's accused consistently for the last 6 years of murdering Abby and Libby, right? And there's things in here that people are using as some sort of proof. They're using the locations of the bodies and the way that it's written here just to get the judge to sign off on this. They're using that as proof, and it's not. And they're not showing the proof that actually GPS-wise or satellite-wise Ron Logan was at the places that they're saying he was at. They've got no way of knowing that, but they're not giving the proof. They're saying otherwise, but they're not giving proof because they don't have it. They just don't have it. And it's unusual, it's cruel, it's self-serving, it's chaotic, it's ludicrous. Number 18. Logan did not ask his cousin to provide an alibi for his drive to the transfer station on February the 13th, 2017. Logan only asked his cousin to provide an alibi for the trip that would have occurred at the time of the apparent abduction of LG and AW. I mean, look, it's likely Logan was on his land at the time the girls were murdered because of something we'll talk about in a minute. And indeed, he does change his statement about the times his cousin turned up, because maybe he reviewed his information and he realised, oh, it must have been around 3 o'clock. But if he was trying to get an alibi, he wasn't going around it the right way, because he wasn't protecting himself at all with the lies, which doesn't make sense. March 8th, 2017, Blank was interviewed by Alios. Blank met Logan about 6 or 8 years ago. Blank was in a personal relationship with Logan for a couple of months and would stay with him in his home on the weekends. Blank left Logan after he became physically abusive. During her interview, Blank explained that Logan continued to stalk and harass Blank after their breakup. During their relationship, Logan had dragged her out of her car by her hair. Blank still fears Logan. Blank has not had contact with Logan in approximately 2 years. Blank told interviewers that Logan had told her in the past that he would kill her and no one would find her body, not that he would just leave her lying above ground on his land. Now, that appears to be the actions of a man who, it's quite aggressive. My insight into Logan's relationships with women over the years, this isn't victim blaming this person. I'm not saying she's to blame for how he treated her, but I have a little sneaking suspicion that it takes two to tango when it comes to tumultuous types of relationships sometimes, and in the way people egg people on. Various ex-partners of Logan's have been shown to be alcoholics with issues in many other parts of their lives. I'm sure that, things just got pretty heated and nasty, and maybe they weren't treating each other very well, and maybe, Ron felt like he was sometimes being taken advantage of, or, who knows, right? Maybe he acted like a bit of a scumbag to a few people. Having a really toxic and immature relationship in your 60s and 70s, etc., with people who are your peers, women in their 50s, 60s, it doesn't equate to wanting to act in a hebephiliac way and in a murderous way towards young girls. I think that's a leap, frankly. A lot of these people that harm these girls, they're living the type of double life where you don't go, oh yeah, he's such an asshole, I can believe it. It's always that, he's a bit weird, but no, he's quiet. I thought he was a family man, right? Sorry, trying to move along. Number 20. During her March 8th, 2017 interview, this person said that she knew Logan carried a gun everywhere he went. From my understanding, it was a 25, not a 40 caliber. This person knew that Logan would carry a gun in a fanny pack. It's funny, isn't it? Because it's not a fanny pack in the images of the person on the bridge. It's a hoodie. This person described Logan's fanny pack as one made out of a nicer material. Number 21. During her March 8th, 2017 interview, this person told Alios when she first saw the photograph of the man on the bridge, she thought the police were looking for Logan because she thought the photograph was Logan. This person did not initially realize that the photograph was that of the suspect. 22. A call placed using Logan's cell phone produced cell tower data that shows Logan's cell phone appears to be in or around his property on February the 13th, 2017 at 2009 p.m. Now, let's go to the back here. Here's the 575, let's say. Here's 300, say. Here's Logan's. The cemetery. Here's the bridge. Here's the girls. Here's the cell tower. Wow, look, here's the cell tower. Yeah, one cell tower. This isn't a triangulated cell tower. Now, how people are trying to get around their posthumous harassment of Ron Logan is they're saying there is actually, there's other data. They've got other data from the phone that pinpoints it, right? But they don't have it. They're not showing this. They've got no proof. Apparently there's insiders leaking information. All these ghouls have all the same information. They've got the same source. They've got the same, ludicrous source. These troublemakers who are using these people. And in turn, these people support each other in their lies and the fake news, fake facts, because it suits them, because they've got their own agendas and it sort of backs them up, in or around, okay? In or around. Although his exact location cannot be confirmed, the tower data, not the data from the towers, okay, because they didn't have towers to triangulate. The data from the tower shows Logan's cell phone was in the Delphi area, in the area of the Monon High Bridge Trail. 23. An analysis of Logan's cell phone data revealed a text message sent from his phone at 7:56 p.m. on February the 3rd, 2017. So that sounds a little bit different, okay? Because that's saying cell phone data revealed a text message. So just looking at his data, but initial exam of this analysis indicates Logan's phone was likely outside his residence and in the proximity of where LG and AW's bodies were located. Now, if at this time they've already got his data and they're able to examine it and they're able to use data from that phone, if they had actual sort of GPS or satellite data of the phone, then if that was possible and they could pinpoint it, they would have just said it here. They would have just said GPS or satellite data that we got from this phone shows Logan to be at, and they would have given coordinates, and still they don't, okay? So if people want to interpret this to mean something else entirely, you have to look at their motive, okay? And that's that. An analysis, 24, an analysis of Logan's cell phone data revealed a text message received. So one's gone out at 7:56 and one's then been received at 10:16. Now, this could just be Logan asking what's happening with the girls, or it could be anything. And then at 10:16, maybe this is, we don't know, we're not told. Maybe this is his friend Pat Brown, who people also accuse. And I mean, I admit he looked, if you superficially looked and you just wanted to have some sort of laser focus, sure, you could make a good case for PB. But maybe that's just coming in saying, No, we haven't found them. They're still looking. And head nodes, see lights. So by 9 a.m. in the morning, and maybe that person said, I'll tell you if we do. So, and then, he'd probably hear if they'd been found. So by 9 a.m. when he's asking his cousin for an alibi, he's thinking, wow, these girls just haven't turned up. They're not just playing hooky. They weren't just hiding out, afraid to be caught because they'd been naughty and then they were worried about punishment. They weren't just over at a friend's house, hiding in the garage, watching a movie. They weren't here, they weren't there, they're nowhere. Okay, he's thinking, shit, yep, I'm going to be asked. He's even waited, it appears, in the morning. He hasn't just woken up desperately at 6 a.m. or at 7 a.m. in the morning, even though he's probably up attending to his animals. He hasn't asked immediately. He's waited a decent amount of time, 9 a.m.-ish, before he's asked his cousin to give an alibi, right? So it seems that it's safely logical to assume that he's thinking ahead. He's not a dumb guy. He's thinking ahead and he's thinking, okay, these girls are still missing. They're going to be asking, well, I wasn't here. What can I tell them? I'm going to have to tell them I wasn't here. I can't explain it. I'm not supposed to be driving. Okay, so, text out 7:56, text in at 10:16, and initial exam of this analysis indicates Logan's phone was likely outside of his residence and in proximity. Proximity, what's a proximity? 1,400 feet might sound a lot, but that's 400 meters or something, isn't it? 400 or 500 meters. It's not a lot, and considering that the tower is in line, I don't know, in the proximity of where LG and AW's bodies were located. He could be down at the gate that looks out the rear of the cemetery. He could have been anywhere wandering around his property. That's his business. Yeah, he could have been within 100 meters of those girls and not known. He could have been 200 meters within the bodies of the girls. Did he have to go and bring horses in, cattle in? I don't know what he had at the time. I know he probably had horses at the time. Did he want to go and bring them up into a paddock, into a barn? (25) Logan met with LEOs on or about February the 17th, 2017. Okay, so this is just a few days later, while they were on his property. Logan was physically able to get up and down the hill from his home to the crime scene. Okay. On March 14th, 2017, Logan's former housemate was interviewed. Hold on. Apologies, just sounds like a crime scene. Well, sometimes it is, but yeah, just silly hysterical screaming. I'm hoping it's all right. So on March 14th, Logan's former housemate, was interviewed. This person resided with Logan from about September 2016 through December 2016. This person was in a sexual relationship with Logan on and off for approximately 3 years. During the interview with LEOs, this person said when she first learned that AW and LG were missing and then found dead near Logan's home, her initial thought was that Logan was involved. This person said in her interview that she feared Logan and even previously told her baby's father if she ever ended up dead, Logan did it. On March 14, 2017, and that's a specific crime towards someone, that you've got a relationship with, that you're perceiving a hurt by, that you have a vendetta against. It's very personal, isn't it? It's quite different to killing 2 girls. On March 14, 2017, this person explained in her interview that Logan had been violent with her in the past. She explained that on July the 4th, 2016, whilst at Logan's home, Logan punched her in the face, knocking her down. This person explained that she was drinking, but Logan was completely sober during the incident. She also explained that Logan was angry because she disrespected Logan while in Logan's home. I wonder if she filed a police report at the time. 28, on February the 13th, back on February the 13th, 2017, Liberty German's family began searching the area of the trail where LG and AW were initially dropped off, beginning shortly after 3 o'clock. And we know a better time for that too, don't we? Derek German was at nearer 3:15. You wonder why in this document the FBI aren't putting correct times for this drop-off and pick-up, right? I think it's a case of this entire case suffered from factions, from competitiveness and secrecy within the different authority groups maybe, and I don't know. And now I think it's highly affected by the fact that there's a huge reward. Liberty German's family and other community members joined the search shortly thereafter. Carroll County Sheriff's Office was notified at approximately 5:30 p.m. That LG and AW were missing. Now, the City Council of Frankfurt, their council meeting was being held that night, and mayors often would go to neighbouring counties or towns' council meetings. Delphi's wasn't due to be held that day, and they're monthly things, and Shane Evans had been to this particular one, but he turned his phone off for that hour. When he's come out, message on his phone about Delphi, and he's driven to the Manon High Bridge Trail. So the sheriff's office is notified at 5:30 and that the girls are missing. Once the search for LG and AW began, no one reported seeing any person matching the description of the male on the bridge. The FBI has established a database for the collection and organisation of tips provided by the public in this case. A search of the database has revealed 15 tips in which citizens, both known and anonymous, attributed the crime to Logan for various reasons. 30. Based on the above aforementioned, now unknown to Logan, these are the people that saw Logan interviewed. I'm not kidding. These will be people like you and me. We're watching, we've seen Logan interviewed, and we've gone, aha! And that's one of the tips. And then, of course, the ones that are known to him, people like ex-girlfriends, etc. For various reasons. 30. Based on the above aforementioned facts, Logan was in the area at the time the crimes occurred, and that he provided false information about his activities during the crime to law enforcement, has a prior propensity for violence, employed others to assist in deceiving law enforcement, and plotted an alibi for a crime that had not yet been discovered. So, now we get to really interesting. Sorry, this has been an hour. All right, thanks for being here, whoever's still here. Information to be searched and things to be seized. Number 1, based on the aforementioned facts where they're very loose with the English language, I believe there is probable cause to believe that Ronald Logan has committed the crime of murder, and evidence of that could be found on Ronald Logan's property. Number 2, the affiant requests a warrant to search Ronald Logan's entire property. Okay, so now not just going in to look for his phone and look in his dwelling, but the entire property located at blah blah, Delphi, Indiana, 46923. Described as a white 2-story single-family dwelling, including his detached garage, outbuildings and vehicle, a white Ford F-250, bearing the VIN, blah blah blah, for evidence related to the murders of LG and AW for the following property. Number 3, any and all evidence pertaining to a murder, including clothing, forensic evidence, blood seen and unseen. Okay, so they were, because, okay, people saying the murders were committed there, well, luminal, but what if you've been cleaning up? They need to be able to find things from washing up. I hope they checked drains and things from sinks. They probably did. Sorry, I'll just try to get on with it and make it a bit easier to listen to me. Any and all evidence pertaining to a murder, including clothing, forensic evidence, blood seen and unseen, hair, bodily fluids seen and unseen, fibers, weapons including guns and cutting instruments. Okay, so we know they weren't shot, or we can pretty much assume they weren't shot. So they're looking for guns because of the bullet. The bullet was there. Richard Allen's bullet was there, okay? It wasn't planted. Well, they might be looking for guns because it's assumed that we know verbally on the video, is that a gun? Or he's got a gun? So that is used to control, but not to murder. And I mean, I guess, yeah, sure, they're going to be looking for guns, but they can pretty much assume a lot of everyone's going to have guns, right? I don't know, I just think it's interesting when you think about the bullet. Guns and cutting instruments, electronic devices used to produce the cellular signals detected by law enforcement in the area of the crime scene, and animal hair samples. The spooky thing is that Ron Logan's animals would be leaving animal hair all throughout the crime scene anyway. Who knows that his horses weren't wandering around freely in that ravine, right? Of course they're going to use that, yeah. Crazy, man. Number 4, computers and computer equipment, digital storage devices, tapes, cassettes, cartridges, streaming tape, commercial software and hardware, computer disks, flash drives, disk drives, monitors, computer printers, modems, tape drives, disk application programs, data disks, disk operating systems, magnetic media floppy disks, computer software, hardware and software operating manuals, tape systems and hard drive and other computer-related operation equipment, digital cameras, scanners in addition to computer photographs, graphic interchange formats and or photograph, undeveloped photographic films, slides and or visual depictions of such graphic interchange format equipment and the data stored within these materials, which has been used or may be used to store evidence of the crime, research ways to conceal a crime, or destroy a crime scene. Destroy a crime scene. Moved and staged. Yeah, Jamin, what's graphic interchange format and or photos? Graphic interchange formats and or photos. What's that? Oh, GIFs. Yeah. Sorry. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, JP with movement. Yeah, so little, yeah, GIFs. Wow, that's weird. GIFs. Ah. But yeah, they use this German to springboard into their theories. And, you know, someone's writing a book, which no doubt will be, I mean, look, if the book's used by the defense this stupid because it's going to be ripped apart. The person writing the book thinks he likes to say that he's in Mensa. Now, even I can pass a lot of Mensa exam questions because a lot of it is, it's calculating things, it's working things out. It gets really hard when you need sort of some specific knowledge. That's when things get quite hard. But yeah, I don't know what to think about that, but I don't think it says much for Mensa. I mean, if this author, and not our beautiful author here, we talk about another one who considers himself an author, who was writing a book about Ron Logan being a murderer. Number 5, records, documents, writings and correspondence containing information about the crime scene, or any individual involved in the crime. Number 6, any and all tablets, phones, iPad devices, and any and all other electronic devices which may contain digital data. Number 7, any and all computer data, including but not limited to photographs, videos, documents, emails, and sound files, which may contain evidence of the violations of the criminal statutes listed at the beginning of this affidavit. I affirm under penalty of perjury as specified IC 3544121 that the foregoing representations are true, dated this day 17th of March 2017, signed Nicole Robertson, FBI. So now people are going to maybe say, no, well, I don't know. I mean, could they say they're looking for so much electronic gear because they're looking for someone capable of creating false things? But why would Ron Logan create fake videos about, showing himself on the bridge? That doesn't make sense. It's so funny how twisted the people are that, that they believe all these wild things. They're all supporting each other, but they all believe quite opposing things that yeah, I mean, she'd have to be, all they can do with the ex is put her on the stand and just take her first person testimony and decide whether people find it relevant. But I think that prosecutors surely can say, well, you didn't file any charges, you've got sour grapes, you were with someone for 3 years, you've ended up struggling alone with nothing, you got booted out, it's sour grapes, Yeah, so, I mean, this is that they wanted to, I feel like it should be easier to get warrants to search properties where crimes have been committed, right? It feels very unjust. Is that a word? It feels unjust to have law enforcement be able to slander someone, nearly to write up a document that can be used as a weapon against someone just on the off chance. Because we all know, once you're tarred with a certain brush, that is it, right? Reputation is all you've got. And, in the case of Ron Logan, with him being, not always an upstanding citizen, maybe, he's an easy target, but, there should be some would Ron have fought this? I don't know. I mean, he might have been scared that he was being framed, and so he said, no, I don't want you to go any further, and they've had to get this warrant, right? They shouldn't be allowed. There needs to be some way that they can get onto that property legally without practically slandering someone. I feel like this is really it's a really unfair part of the justice system, because justice hasn't been done to Ron Logan. Now, there are several different things that people are saying about Ron Logan, and they use a lot of this to back themselves up. The main thing is that the first thing is that there are people saying that Ron is the person on the bridge and that Ron murdered the girls. There's another theory being thrown around as this is fact. And remember, we've got people just getting curious about this case. They've never heard of it maybe until Richard Allen was arrested, and now they're really into it and they're trying to catch up on 6 years of shenanigans, right? 6 years of a lot of information, a lot of Delphi videos, a lot of press conferences, a lot of statements from people, a lot of theories, all of this, right? Fact and fiction. And all they're hearing are these theories about Ron Logan. So number one, that he actually is the person on the bridge and that he's committed the crime. Another one is that he is involved in some way, that he was some sort of lookout, that he was this isn't Crime Curious, Joman. Do you remember me reading a bit about in 209? I don't, and yet, what was this? I'm just thinking there was something about Ron being on or near Freedom Bridge at 209. But is that complete bullshit? Where does that come from? Because people are saying he was there at 209 Freedom Bridge. He was a lookout. He was something or other, right? And I don't think we just read that out now. I think people can assert their own information and get it taken by as fact. And people won't check it. themselves. Okay, because that's one thing that I've heard. 209, he was in the vicinity of Freedom Bridge. Oh my word. So, one thing is, yeah, he knew all about it. He knew they were on the land. That's what these texts were about, to and from, you know, in and out. Others say, well, he knew they were there. One person says that he discovered them and ejaculated. Yeah, ejaculated at the scene. And there's so many rumors about Ron Logan, and no one is backing anything up with fact. They're talking as if they've got other phone data and that it pinpoints him exactly, but no, it's just the way they are choosing to interpret this, and it's weak, and it's shitty, and it's stupid. Yeah, anyway. And then we've got people. It is awful. And then we've got, so now that we've got Richard Allen's arrest affidavit, right? I thought for many, many years that, yeah, no one saw the girls. No one saw the girls, right? But, you know, you question witnesses all the time. Who's giving... you know, where did these identity kits come from and that sort of thing. Sorry, I'm very fidgety. I'm always fidgety when I'm in pain. Where did these identity kits come from? The sketches and things like that, right? And, you know, there's been all sorts of theories, even thrown around by the family, who don't seem to really have anything definitive. You know, that the first sketch came from actually the bridge guy image itself, and then Anna Williams thinking that her idea of when the second sketch came to the fore was because she understood it that, okay, that they'd fully investigated the person that might be the first sketch and discarded it, and now they're just moving on to the next line of inquiry. I mean, everyone's being confused, you know. But what we've learned now in Richard Allen's affidavit, and you know, a lot of people are saying, okay, well, yeah, it's fake. This witness is made up. These witnesses are made up. At times, it's all lies. And again, of course, we're just going to have to wait and see if there is a trial, which I think there's going to be, because Richard Allen is confused and shocked at his arrest. Yeah, can you imagine the investigation without the video? Holy moly. You know, Crime Curious, you're aware, right, of all the videos being made, these long series of things being made that say that the Snapchat image at 2:07 is fake, that the bridge video is fake. It's just planted on the phone that was used by Liberty German at the time. You're not aware of that? Yeah. So, you know, they take a photo of where Abby's body is in a completely different position. They say this is what the Snapchat photo was made up of, and planted on the phone and sent it to 2:07, but it's not real. It's all done by Kelsey German and this faction of, yeah, right. And then they say, oh, the logo on the shoes is wrong. No, the logo's on the inside. Converse logo is always on the inside, except for some very limited editions, because aesthetically the logo's on the inside. It looks better. It's so bizarre, and it's as if the FBI couldn't work this out and wait accordingly. You know, anyway, so now that so they've got hold of fodder from the affidavit for Richard Allen. In here, it says that there's a witness, okay, that, a witness that drove past a camera and stopped here, so it's putting her arrival time at about 1:46 at Mears, okay, just to walk up to go off on the trail. And I've written backwards, but and then Kelsey German stopping at Mears, driving off, captured at the same camera at 1:49. Now it's mere seconds in a car from Hoosier Harbour Store to Park, right? Or to leave from Mears to get to Hoover Harbour Store to be captured on a camera. But what this person is trying to say, is that there is no way that the witness and Kelsey German dropping the girls off could not have been there other than at the same time exactly. And this isn't true, because there could be anything from 2 minutes, 10 seconds to 2 minutes difference in time and crossover time. Because the witness states, right, that she was there but no one else was. And then she's walked up from the parking spot up to where the trail goes off, down the 505 and the 501. And this person's video shows that as a very painstakingly long minutes walk. Okay, so they're trying to say, captured here at 1:46, coming past Hoover Harbour Store, gets out, walks, and then goes down to the bridge, sees Richard Allen, is coming back, and also we're going this way. And he says the timing is impossible for them not to have been at the car park at the same time, so it's red flag. Okay, but if you've got Kelsey, Liberty and Abby arriving in time for Kelsey to be seen at 1:49, just because Kelsey says she watched the girls walk up here doesn't mean it took them a minute or that she watched them walk the whole way. This woman could have been well and truly gone before Kelsey came in, dropped them off, and then drove off to be seen at 1:49. But there's all sorts of, let's be so convincing that it can happen only one way, and that's that, because it's self-serving. What are these people wanting to get out of it? Now, it might seem, it's tight timing, okay? Because as we were talking about before, Ron Logan's search warrant says 1 p.m. and then we thought that it was 1:37 p.m. and then we learned it's 1:49 p.m. or thereabouts, right? That the girls arrived at to go for their walk. So if they dropped off at 1:40, just before 1:49. See, the thing is too, we don't know if it's rounded down, if it's just chopped off the seconds, because 1:49 could be 1:49:01, it could be 1:49:59. Same with the woman arriving, it could be 1:46:01 or it could be 1:46:59. Okay, there's fuckery everywhere. You can twist it however you want. But look, Kelsey is seen driving off past Hoover Harbour Store at 1:49. We don't know if that's near a 1:50 or very close to 1:49. Regardless, the girls have walked to the bridge and crossed the bridge, taken a photo at 2:07. Okay, it's 100% in the realm of believability of that time frame, right? Now, it's, the woman walking seems to walk very slow, or does she sit in her car? Because she leaves at 2:13. I think she's seen on the Hoover Harbour store camera. People are agonizing over this and really trying to make a meal out of it. And wanting people to only believe their slice of truth. I mean, yeah, maybe she did. Maybe she sat in her car and smoked a blunt. I mean, who knows? Maybe she wandered very slowly back, because they're not understanding that, because, she passed them, she says, maybe halfway on the way back. And, the idea is, if there's only a few minutes in between, how did she sort of only pass them halfway on the way back? But the girls could have gone quickly up to the trail, and then they could have been mucking around on the way up, allowing this woman to get quite the head start. They could have popped down the 501 for a little bit, down to the creek, just a few minutes. Oh no, let's go this way. Gone back up to the other trail and headed straight to the bridge again. And, there's a million ways you can write it, all right? Yeah. So, yeah, it's just crazy. It's the whole series, and they get you at first because they don't say anything too dangerous, right? These channels, they make some decent videos. They have good production values, but you've got no idea where you're going to be led. So now I'm a lot more reticent. I'm a lot more, cynical about new channels that pop up that have, that produce in a certain way. They're not someone presenting something. They're not a talking head. They've made a short film, essentially, right? I'm a lot more wary now of, hey, where are we going to go? Because I have shared these people's videos at the start going, oh, this is well done. This was, even though in the comment section I've gone, oh, well, sure, but da-da-da-da-da. And then they turn out to be quite nasty. Hearing the search warrant for Ron Logan makes you want to question things, Crime Curious? What do you want to question? What is it? Is there something specifically? It's really interesting. I mean, I think it does. It's the first concrete thing, other than, these rumors about, is this text message correct from Anna Williams' sort of vague family member? Is it true what was said over the radio from apparently John Weaver about how the girls were found? Ron Logan's search warrant was the first thing that we had concrete that describes the scene. Okay, it's where we learn that the scene, that the girls were moved and staged, and it tells us what they were looking for at Ron Logan's, cementing what we sort of believed about maybe how they were controlled and then how they were killed, with what weapons they were looking for. And don't you think that after that search warrant and the things that they were looking for and everything, if they'd found anything at all connecting Ronald Logan to the scene, that they would have arrested him? He would have been arrested for that. I mean, everything is twisted, Oh, but he was arrested. He was arrested for, the parole violations, because that was just, they couldn't quite get him on the murders, even though they thought he did it, so they put him away anyway, hoping that he would talk. I mean, no. Just knowing the lean of it and its semantics or the technicalities used, it's like having another layer of context. It's interesting, right? Because, I mean, you and I mean, we, for example, we're both very interested in language and communication, right? And you might be as pedantic, you probably are quite pedantic, as am I. And so when you read it and you filter it through a brain, through, when you filter it through an unbiased brain, you can see it for what it is, right? But there's so much bias and human. I utterly dislike it when people add dramatic music, etc. It suggests that they're not interested to appeal to reason. Exactly, and the reason for doing that, one can ponder on. Yeah, and look at the most damaging channels. They're the ones that play the music, right? Psychedelic furs, or they just have dramatic instrumental music, and they make it very cinematic, and that's done on purpose. So I suggest to everybody who watches those sort of videos, just turn the sound down and see how you feel about it, so that you're looking at it with full capacity and you're not being manipulated and distracted. Do that with movies too, right? When you do that with some movies, it's quite interesting. So what are these tubers accusing Ron Logan? I'm not saying I don't know what sort of person he is really, right? But they are presenting nothing to back up their accusations, right? And they might well just be giving Richard Allen's defense team some fodder. I don't know if Richard Allen is guilty or not, but if he is, would you like to be the one that's responsible for him getting off, being acquitted or something? I mean, just wow. It's Greg Hughes might say, wow, just wow, very sarcastically, right? Yeah. Yeah, so what they say, Crime Curious, is not only that the Snapchat video is faked, that the girls were killed either early February the 13th or on February the 12th, but that, so to show sort of this proof of life, they're faked going to the bridge. And that photo is fake, that it's planted. They're not taking into account the low, is it DPI? I mean, the phone at the time, it wasn't a top of the range iPhone, was it? I mean, and they're not taking into account any Snapchat filters and things like that, and yet they're zooming in on all the pixels and seeing all the faces and seeing things that are planted in the image. So basically they're saying that the FBI is looking at that and going along with it. And, the interesting thing is, sure, authorities have never released that. What these ghouls don't take into account also actually is that it's a screenshot that someone took. So that probably affects the quality again. There's so many things that can affect the quality of an image. That was Snapchat out. Someone screenshotted it. Have these accusers actually talked to that person? Do they wonder how they came about this picture? They weren't given this picture from Liberty German, from Kelsey German or Bree Wilbur, or someone that they're accusing of being involved. Because also what they're saying, sorry, this is a bit scatty, but they're saying that, the arrival times and everything, it's very curious. It's actually who was being dropped off, who was being picked up, whose turn was it to go to the bridge, Kelsey? They've got just such this complicated situation. And even though they're all slightly different, they all support each other, but the slight differences or the differences in their theories are so... they mean that the other person has to be completely wrong, but they're still supporting each other. Am I making sense? Probably not. I know what I mean. They're acting as if that photo was given as proof from the family. It wasn't. Can they name the person that it came from? Police don't use it. They use the film of Bridge Guy. They tell us that it's 43 seconds long. You think that somehow they're saying that Kelsey German and whomever else, with the help of some top dogs in Delphi. I'm not saying there's not corruption in Delphi. We know that there is corruption in Delphi. But they're saying that a 43-second video is just being treated as it is faked, but it's being treated as real by law enforcement, or it's so tricksy that they've fooled law enforcement. They made it 43 seconds long as well. The certain person that makes most of these videos, they've never explained that bit, right? They've never explained that. But hold on, all you have to do is say, yeah, because law enforcement are in on it, everyone. Carter's their hero, but he'd also have to be in on it, wouldn't he? To be acting as if this video is legitimate. None of it makes sense. They can't make it make sense, right? Oh, it's infuriating. There's plenty, yes, there is plenty that is troublesome, sure, about the run sheet timelines, about the investigation, about all sorts, right? There's plenty to worry about, but to make a statement that the Bridge Guy video is false and that everyone who's examined it, seen it in law enforcement knows this and just carries on with this fuckery, how is that a sane thought? Right? Just to create something that, what are they gaining? What are they gaining? Oh, it's because, the way the girls died, they make a way of connecting everything everyone has done as being part of this such ginormous conspiracy. Nobody could project manage this conspiracy. They couldn't. No one could work together like this and create this and do their roles to work so well like this. It just doesn't happen, Anyway. Yeah. Whew. Anyway, this hasn't been very good, but at least it's been interesting to read through it again, because you think you can remember things, and then, so I want to know, right? I want to know who is Who put out that Ron Logan was at Freedom Bridge at 2:09? Am I mistaken? We didn't read it in here, right? But that's what someone's saying. Now, they're saying that they've got, so what they're trying to say is that they've got insider knowledge. They have data that we don't have. Okay, they're saying that they've got hold of the data, and it actually shows that Logan was at the bridge at 2:09. It's not in here, but it's in other records that even the FBI wasn't privileged to. FBI went in to get what would have shown them that Ron Logan was on Freedom Bridge at 2:09. They didn't find out that Logan was on the bridge at 2:09, right? And they had to let it go. They had to let it go. Now, some people say it was really cruel what they did to him because they put an old man in jail. Now, yeah, it was harsh. They did put an old man in jail. A couple of years after this, they eventually... Because what happened was, at the time, he was only 1 month off finishing his probation. He could have been driving legally again, right? Instead, as well as driving to Lafayette, 2 weeks after that, probably because of the stress, probably because of having no support, probably because of the events itself, the pressure, he's just going out of his mind, and he has gone somewhere and eaten pizza, and he's drunk in bed, and he has driven. He's clearly dangerous to citizens. He could have a car accident and damage property. He could have had a car accident and killed someone, a pedestrian. He could have harmed himself. He could have been driving drunk. So on one hand, it seemed really harsh. They put him in prison for 2 years at the end of his life. He got convicted and sentenced to 2 years. He spent the last year in prison, last year under house arrest at home, and and then of course, and then he's died. But what he was doing was quite dangerous, and was dangerous to all the citizens of Carroll County, right? You can't just go around doing that. And I guess they couldn't ignore it. They had to be seen as some sort of favoritism. I don't know. The sentence seemed really harsh though, but maybe that's maybe, I don't know. Can't work it out. We're not privy to these things. Yeah, so I think that there will be a lot that will come out in trial, and we have to decide what's right and what's not when the trial is on. I mean, a lot of people don't have very much faith in Carroll County to run a very good case against Richard Allen if he is the murderer. It's still not really cleared up what the clients have to do, if anything. These factions that we've been talking about here, well, they like to say that the clients have been catfished. Okay, the catfishers have been catfished, so that there will be these perpetrators in the area at the time, so that they will be looked at with suspicion, and so that people will be looking the other way, away from the real murderers, the family. It's just like, okay, so they're trying to say that a certain daughter or grandchild is more valued, her life's more valuable than the life of another one. Okay, they're saying that that's the decision that the family would make, is rather than stick up for one that they really... It is just... It's just so weird and vile. And I mean, with these absolutely brilliant minds, right, to just conceptualize this and just to have this all happening, right? Wow, what? It's just crazy. And they must all be, communicating through telepathy all the time, right? Yeah. There is a lot of fodder. There's a lot of things to analyze that seem really, really bizarre. But, we need to wait to trial. And, people just move on. They just move on. They make up their stories about what they want to think happened, and then when they're proven wrong, they just move on, or they just change it a little bit and keep going with that. And yeah, who wants a oracle card? You need a nap. Thanks for tuning in, Prime Curious. Here, I'll draw a card for you. Bit of whiffle dust. Oh, look, that one's popped out at us. What have you got? Detach. Retreat from situations that are not in harmony with your soul and open your heart to greater love of self. Detach. There you go. Jamin, you'll get a reading as well. Detach. Page 76. Meaning, it may be time to step back or withdraw a situation. This may require being fully present and open in your emotions to simply observe and resist the need to respond, fix, or rescue. This card suggests a time to reflect or retreat from the world, give space within your heart and mind to renew and revitalize your energy so that you can make positive choices and take the necessary steps to moving forward. The Oracle of Detach brings discernment. It's a retreat into the heart rather than a shutting down of the heart, for it's never a wise option to cut yourself off from your own center of love, but you can let go of the need to react, which opens the heart to the experience of the present and the observations of your feelings. If you're a sensitive or empathetic soul, this card may be warning you to be aware of absorbing other people's energies or being drawn into problems that are not yours to carry. Let's do Jamin. Give me some whiffle dust, Jamin. Just a little bit more there. Say when. When? Gotta go. Okay. Let's just say that this is your card. Now. All right, too late. I did it. Triality. You are shifting from your polarized world of duality to the freedom of the heart unity. Triality. Okay. Page 128. Triality is the shifting of our polarized consciousness to a more unified self, living within the higher realms of our fifth dimensional heart, whatever the fuck that is. You have drawn this card because you are becoming a unified being. You are learning to live in the natural flow of your higher heart. You have gone through many physical and energetic changes. You've shed many layers of fear and cried a river of tears for the unloved parts of yourself. Your road may have been weary, treacherous, and traumatic at times, yet in the new home of higher heart consciousness, the creation of a beautiful reality awaits. You no longer have to report to the headquarters of the ego, for you understand it's all about vibration and frequency. allowing the natural flow of heart energy to lead the way. You no longer battle with the good and bad, for you have learned to balance these internal opposites as explained in the card of duality. There is no going back, for your present reality of a promising life, a beautiful dream that's still in the infancy of its birth, as we, the child, become one with our universal parents of heaven and earth. Hi, Johnny. Let's draw a card for you then too, and then I'm going to go. Let's do an oracle card for JK, Wiffle Dust, JK, Cream Earth. What have you got? Emotional tapestry. The inner workings of your emotions is a delicate tapestry weaving growth, awareness, and wisdom into your life. There you go. Well, yeah, I just wanted to read that through again because, I think a lot of people are probably reading it through again because of all the accusations that are rearing their heads. And look, hopefully if people try to, use these accusations or any book written about Logan, if they try to use it in the trial as introducing reasonable doubt, hopefully it's just thrown out as the garbage it is. But, sure, okay, so if people, they're saying they've got law enforcement giving them information, they're saying they've got phone records and things like that, publish it. Publish it. Same people using the same sources. You've got conspiracy theorists. You've got people that hate the family or families. They've got vendettas. People, you nearly think, what personal vendetta have you got against Carroll County? Have you got against Delphi? Who hurt you there? Are you the ex-mistress of someone? Were you screwed over? Were you dumped? What is it? Why does it seem like it's so personal for people that make these Delphi videos? And yeah, I think it's partly we're just in an age where we just have too much information at our ready, right? But not quite enough. We don't have everything, so you fill in the gaps. And yeah, there's a lot of gap filling. And it's nasty and damaging. And look, hey, as much as the next person, I realise that we, our minds could be blown out of the water. Yeah, I just thought it would be interesting just to read that again so that moving forward, it's just so that it's fresh in our mind. They interviewed Ron Logan many times, it seems. They were even at it many times. They were there before the 17th. And then really thoroughly on the 17th. So it's not even, it's clear it wasn't even just one search that they did, but they used his first probation violation, discovering that the cousin was asked to lie and did lie. They used that to go into his home, and then, yeah, they've gone even further, and then nothing's happened, right? Nothing has happened. They didn't find one thing, nothing to keep them moving forward. After that, they had all his devices. They should have had the ability to pinpoint further his devices to down to a meter maybe. Is that possible, Joman? If they got hold of his phone. See, he wasn't using a smartphone, but someone's trying to tell you, oh no, he had a satellite phone that, so if they think they've got data, didn't law enforcement have that data? And if they could show that he was where the girls were at any time before or after, why did nothing come of that, right? Why would they go to all that trouble and want to raid his house practically, get this information, and then when they found it, do nothing, right? Does that make sense? Does it make sense? The answer is, well, they're all in on it or something, right? Yeah. Anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks to those who have been here. I don't know that we haven't really made any revelations, have we, Yeoman? But it was interesting looking at, I'm glad that that's fresh in my mind now because, yeah, okay, it is. It's exploitation. They hear of a case for whatever reason, they latch on, they decide to make a new channel about it. They've got some skills. They get really, maybe they've got a true passion and maybe they really believe what they're saying. I don't know. I mean, I think if that's the case, then they're definitely to be pitied. But the person writing the book about Ron Logan being the murderer, not just involved, I think he's saying that he's the murderer. He was very strongly for DP, Daniel Pearson, and so, okay, so you can go so strong, so sure that you're just telling everybody that's it and trying to make a case for it, and you do that for years. How strong could that have really been then? But why were you so convicted if you can just turn on a dime and now accuse Ron Logan? See, to me, the search warrant, it helps say that he's not. It doesn't help think that he might be, and particularly because nothing came of it. I just don't. Well, they went there so that they could get electronic equipment and all his hard drives and all whatever programming he's using, any phones, anything at all. Unless he's hidden something. I mean, we know that Keegan Klein managed to keep one device away from law enforcement, for a few days. Maybe it was just in his microwave or on top of the microwave or something. And then he wiped it and then he hands it in. But, sure, they might miss things. But, I mean, I think they're generally pretty good at searches. I know in the Patrick Frazee, Crystal Kenny case, they searched and they didn't see that there was blood all over the walls that had been washed. If they had put seen and unseen in a search warrant and done a proper check, yeah, maybe they would have found it, right? When, the actual home of Patrick Frazee, or was it Crystal Kenny's house or flat, that place was the actual crime scene, not somewhere down in the woods. Although there are people that say that they were murdered. No, they wouldn't have. I don't think they would have. And on my community post, Kelly, I've put the picture of Ron Logan using the phone that he had at the time, a phone that he still had because it wasn't yet taken in that 17th of March search. And, he he's receiving texts and things. And sure, I think he's using his phone. It's just a basic phone, text and telephone calls. Now, they know to look for that phone. They've gotten data from the phone companies. They've got, if they could pinpoint his location any better than just vague proximity, they would have. So people are trying to tell you now that they have got it, not vague proximity, but they have got it. They've pinpointed him. How come no action was taken? It doesn't make sense, okay? It doesn't make sense. And it would... Yeah, well, I'm sure that, gaslighting. Yeah. Yes, so much example of gaslighting goes around the TC community, right? It's what the TC community arena runs on, is the audience being manipulated and gaslit, audience members sometimes bullying other audience members into going along with or believing or, attacking them if they question things. And so they're ending up in this echo chamber, right? And what is sickening is a lot of the channels, their names tell you everything you need to know. That they are agents of chaos, agents of dark, that they are there to deceive, that they have, that, even if they can't even understand it themselves or admit it to themselves, but surely they're not that dense, right? They choose these names for a reason. They've got, you can tell the curiosities and attractions that they have in life. You can tell what they like. A lot of them really enjoy horror movies. They're fascinated by horror movies and the esoteric and the occult. But the other ones to solve the crime and to accuse the right people, and everyone else is just being a stupid sheep, and law enforcement are useless. We don't see the evil right in front of us, apparently. And that's it over there. Not here, not us creating it, not us who are fascinated by the esoteric and the occult and horror, right? Who have latched onto a case because it's an opportunity for us to develop a following, There's a whole lot of sadists in this community, okay? And they're looking for victims, and they look for victims just like they do, just like the Nigerian scammers do, okay? And yeah, that's that. And they're getting their lowest common denominators, and that's it. And it can seem very believable, right? If you don't know enough about the case, or, if you're new to true crime, or if you share some of the beliefs, like if you're in QAnon type realm in your life or whatever, right? So it's easy, so... And the thing is, it makes you sort of fight back a bit harder on a lot of points that really you'd like to actually be able to discuss. But you have to stop discussing things until you can find some sort of resolution in your mind, or, pick things out until you do get to fact. You don't want to talk about things anymore, right? So that's why this channel has changed quite a bit. The way that I used to be able to talk about Suzanne Morphew's case and everything, I had to stop talking about. I couldn't just discuss things anymore, because you don't want to be on a certain side or whatever, right? So you can't do it. And it's the same with Delphi. you just can't discuss things anymore until you get to the bottom, until you actually do solve something and get resolution or understand something, because you can't. You want to reject things like that. You just want to let it sit there. People may then assume that you are in a little box with a set of beliefs, and not open-minded or not seeing things. But also, so you stop exploring. But, I know enough about the world to know that things that you think, you can be looking on the outside and you think you've got all the facts, you know exactly how it went down. You might be working hard and taking notes and maybe putting things into a spreadsheet and finding connections and mapping things out. And you might be doing a brilliant job at it, and you can still be so wrong about the actual truth. Okay, I think the longer you live life, the more you realize that, the more you see how easy it is to be misguided, to be misunderstanding, and you see the value in not jumping to conclusions. Yeah. And of course, the Delphi case has just given people absolute fodder, hasn't it? I mean, it's just been the gift, so to speak, that just keeps giving for people who want to make content of a certain nature. A lot has gone on, and a lot of it's fueled by statements that law enforcement make, and everyone's acting as if every little word is going to be perfection, and they overanalyze everything, and no one is that good. No one is that much of an artist that they think that it's this perfect play where there's no mistake, there's no rerun, there's no rehearsals, there's no let's have another take of that, this, that, the other, that somehow everyone has now come out and put this puzzle down perfectly. It's all there for you to solve, like this big puzzle, right? And things like, there's catch a killer, hunter killers or whatever. I mean, this isn't helping the situation, right? People think that's what they're looking at, and they think that these statements, every gesture and word that's made by every single person is a clue to be analysed and pieced together, and as if it's all solid, and it's not. People are fallible, and things change, and people misspeak. There will be reasons. Maybe law enforcement knew all along. No, we've got the Hoosier details, but actually we don't want to correct the time of the girls arriving in case this helps us down the track catch someone who lies about something. I don't know, we aren't law enforcement. We can think we're so investigative, but we don't know everything. And sadly, people have made a lot of mistakes. And I hope that we find out what happened. Is it true that Richard Allen did talk to an officer? Was it a conservation officer? Did he talk to Tony Liggett? Did he talk to someone in the sheriff's office? Did he talk to who? And really? Outside a convenience store? Really? Maybe this is a convenience store that has a little cafe set up. Why would you meet there? Where anyone can overhear information being given, etc. I mean, that I just refuse to actually believe that. Now, this is gossip, I think, from Murder Sheet, isn't it? I don't know, I can't rate things as perfect that come from there, from that source. So I don't know what I believe about Keegan Kline and Tony Kline. I mean, Tony Kline, what a piece of work. I mean, they both are apparently, seemingly, scumbuckets. Tony seems like the one that could commit a physical act of violence, because he has in the past. You know, I don't know what I think about that connection, and the catfishing, and Kelsey contacting that account apparently, and any of that. And I don't know what I think about how Richard Allen came forward. Apparently his affidavit only says 2017. It doesn't give a date, it doesn't give a time, it doesn't name the officer. And it's interesting because it doesn't say that he was asked about his clothing. If he had given a description of what he was wearing, surely they would have gone back and asked, or known at the time to ask, or they would have gone back and asked, can we have your clothing? They would have done that immediately. Why not? Who is this mysterious conservation officer? I tell you, in searches for conservation officers in the area, one I found. I don't know who was the person at the time, but there were some interesting links that person has to pharmaceutical supply companies. I don't know if that means anything to do with Richard Allen. I don't know. But why would they interview people that way? Why would they want to take a statement that way? It's so unprofessional and stupid. And you'd think that someone that, you know, conservation officers, they're fairly highly ranked from what I can understand as far as their powers. And would they be idiots? Did not recognize the information that they had and how interesting it was? Would they not immediately take that to part of the authorities investigating the crime, who can actually take that further in all the right directions? You know, but yeah, it doesn't mention clothing. And then later though, in October 2022, that's when Richard is saying, oh yeah, sure, I was in these clothes that match Bridge Guy. But it's not mentioned for 2017. Wouldn't that be something that you would ask? So if not, then was it before? You know, there's rumours that this was immediately, like on the 14th of February, that he's come forward to say he was there. So before the general public about BG in the video. And so the conservation officer may not have realised, okay, it's not important to ask what clothing. That to me would seem like a very basic thing, is to ask for a description of your clothing. There's a murder, you're saying you've been at the site, we want to be able to cross-reference and cross people off, and what were you wearing, so that you can know that a witness who saw someone, they were looking at maybe this person because he described himself as wearing, you know, a white t-shirt and some red shorts. Okay, you'd want to know, but they haven't. That's not in. Now, it might just be sneakily for some reason left out of the affidavit, but maybe left out because they realise it makes us look really bad. Let's just hide that for now. You know, they don't want people to see that at the time they even had a description of what someone was wearing. But, you know, and others say this as well, you know, you think that when they're listening and to press conferences and everything, they'd be paying attention, they've been part of the investigation. And you think that would, oh, hold on a minute, Twig. Yeah, I spoke to some guy. I better go forward and make sure they know, because they seem to be asking about this person that, well, I've got the information on. Well, you'd think that that individual would have spoken up and made sure the follow-through was done at any point. So crazy. And then they could have gone out and spoken directly to Richard Allen, spoken to his wife maybe. They could have asked for his clothing. They could have gotten a search warrant for his car when it seemed like there was more and more likelihood that this person fits the bill. Because by then they had the video of BG. I mean, the whole thing is just what a fiasco. What an absolute fiasco. And this one thing right from the start just goes to show, anything's only as good as a foundation. You've got to have the right foundation. That's for anything in life. Someone connected BK to Delphi. Who, Yeoman? No. Why are you saying that, JK? That's ridiculous. That's so pathetic. Even the Morphew, Barry Morphew is bridge guy, according to the Witch of the South. Yeah, BK is not connected to Delphi. He has nothing to do with Delphi. Yeah, no. We don't, why would you even watch channels that say such things? I wonder, your mind is more precious than that. Why give it junk? Yeah. Yeah, Brian Kay. I mean, people are saying that Brian Kay isn't the killer, of the Idaho 4. Starting down that road, that, he's framed or whatever, right? Or that it just means nothing, that he drove there a dozen times, Yeah. I don't think, just on the subject of Brian Koberger, who is allegedly the murderer of Maddie, Zana, Kaylee, and Ethan in Moscow, I don't think he has murdered again, because, 12 times to really case a joint, but, seasoned serial killers, they know to just take poor people out of society, choose people in society that people give less of a fuck about. It's like he wanted to be very sensationalist, isn't it? Because he's chosen clearly what is going to be a media sensation. But I think he just wanted to make sure that his crime would get coverage and that he would bask. And I truly think it was an absolute mistake when he left the sheath. There's probably going to be people that are going to theorize that BCK left that knife sheath behind on purpose, or that it was planted there. No. No. He did not intend to leave that behind. And I don't think he intended on getting caught, and I think he just intended on watching it all play out, and that he would just really enjoy that. Yeah. Now he's caught, and if he's guilty, I hope he's never going to see the light of day. And as someone else was saying the other day, who was it? Talking about, the cost of killing someone on the chair or with lethal injection. I lost connection for a bit. That is actually quite expensive. I think Is it true? I don't know if is it true that Idaho have the I know they've got the death penalty, but do they have a firing squad? Ah, you think anything's possible? You think it's possible that he was Delphi? Yeah, sure, lots of things are possible, but people coming up with those sort of things, it's like having an infection, okay, that you've got to clear out. That's just my opinion anyway. You're welcome to yours, of course, but he's made a dozen reconnaissance missions, driving back and forth. He's gone back that morning at 9 a.m. I think he just didn't have the balls to go in and get his knife sheath. He's probably realizing it was upstairs near the girls. He was probably terrified of what he would see after the fact. It's different in the middle of the night and doing that, and then going back in the cold light of day to see what you've done and to try to grab a sheath. And also he would have been trying to weigh up not only getting caught going in and out, but walking through blood and leaving footprints, leaving other DNA and that sort of thing. I mean, it sounds like, he could have dropped hair, anything, because his hair was kind of visible, I think, or, something from his... You think he's killed way before? Possibly he's killed before, sure, So, someone in Pennsylvania... I don't know, I think he's been mulling it over for years, and I think this is his first time, hopefully his last. Yeah, and I think he's decided that he can't risk going in, and he's just hoped that there was, nothing that could trace him on the sheath. I mean, to only get the DNA from inside where maybe he's opened it. He's clearly tried to keep his prints off it. If it wasn't for the sheath, he maybe could have gotten away with murder. That might be too much of a stretch to say that circumstantial murder of going back and forth from his uni to Moscow. Yeah, but there's physical things inside the home that links him to the way they died. Anyway, really need to get some water to drink and have a little rest and walk my dog maybe. But why do you think he's killed before? Just because this is such an audacious crime and it was just so bold and violent? He's made so many rookie mistakes though. Why would he? I wonder why. Yeah, no, you never said it right. Okay, JK never thought that Brian did Delphi. Yeah, it's ludicrous, isn't it, that they say these things? But if he was so seasoned at it, why did he? I don't know. Okay, sure, maybe some of his other crimes, they weren't audacious enough, so they didn't get talked about enough, and that was what he wanted. So he chose college students, ones that were clearly going to create a sensation. But why would he need to? I don't know, it's just... He's spent so many months thinking about it and planning it by what we can tell, right? Yeah. It just seems I think it's his first one. Anyway, thanks, Kelly Payton. Yeah, look, yeah, Delphi, yeah, it's a very interesting case. I think we know really not much at all about the, look, it could be something very basic. It could be so mundane, banal, right? Little Richard Allen, terrible person, decides to kill some girls who sadly have links to some really gross, disgusting people who like to take advantage of vulnerable teenagers, curious teenagers, right? But yeah, it could be more interesting than that. But it's really hard to make a decision on that, and yeah, I can't wait for the trial. Anyway, thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for listening to the read through. Just thought it might be good to do so that it's fresh in our mind, because there's lots of videos being made at the moment, lots of people talking about Ron Logan as either the murderer, involved, luring the girls, or being part of what was supposed to be the abduction of him, of them actually being killed in his house and in his buildings, which I think we can tell is just bullshit, that he was at the scene, that he came across the girls, found them, and, knew that they were there, didn't say anything, all of these weird things. There's a lot of scenarios involving Ron Logan, and no one has offered any evidence. And you can look at the search warrant and you can see where people are getting their ideas, and you can see that if the evidence came about that would prove some of the things they're saying, it would have been found and it would be out in the open, and that would be that. And it's not, it's old news. Doesn't mean that Ron Logan was a saint, but he is dead and he can't defend himself. He lived as being harangued and upset, and he spent his last days in prison and under house arrest pretty much, and didn't have much time after that as a free person. The land that he loved was forever tainted with the blood of these teenage girls, and with the accusations that swirled around him. So, he's just an easy target, isn't he? Just easy to pick on someone that's dead and can't defend himself and can't even have a chance to, you wonder, right? What if Ron understood what was in his own search warrant and understood what was going to happen to him later when this got out? I think I would have done everything I would have, as Ron Logan, I would have published myself. If it has been possible for any data at all to pinpoint him, so clearly not using the towers, but using satellites, right? If there was any possibility, he would have done it. He would have done it. Maybe someone at the time would have helped him do it and said, look, we need to clear this up, Ron. We just need to get this info, publish it, and that's that. And people wouldn't be able to be talking about him in the way that they are. He could be very neurotic for a lot of reasons, and very, proprietary, of course, about his land and about his privacy. And he also could have been very well aware that he wasn't a good person, and he did have things to hide. So I think he was a person in quite a funny position. Now, people are going to make a lot of the fact that he worked in electronics in the Navy. He's not a stupid person, he's a savvy person, okay? So I'm sure that everybody is going to, these people, they're going to find a lot of different ways to create content that is quite entrancing and intriguing when it comes to Ron Logan and all the things that he might have done. If that were the case, he would have cleared his name by doing so, and if he couldn't, the FBI would have altered him for it. And I think that's the bottom line. Anyway, I'm just blabbing and repeating myself now. So see you guys later.